thanks for checking me out. This is my very first video tutorial. My name is Erica and I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for almost a year now. And I wanted to do this cute little card for you. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any stamp sets depicting an Easter theme for this year, which is the 2013-2014 catalog. So I dragged out an old stamp set in which I got this little Happy Easter little bunny here. And I want to use a watercolor technique on this little bunny, so I'm going to stamp it on some watercolor paper. Now this watercolor paper has a nice texture to it, and I'm hoping that the image actually stamps nice and cleanly. So I'm going to do it in this crumb cake color, just to stamp the little bunny. And then we're going to actually tear the card to fit it, to tear this watercolor paper to then fit it onto our card. Alright, so there's our little bunny. I'm using what's called a water brush, or sometimes it's referred to as an aqua painter. This brush you can fill up with water, and rather than having a bowl or a cup of water that you could possibly spill onto your desk, so it has just some white bristles at the bottom, and you can squeeze the tube and you'll get water coming out. So sometimes you end up with too much water, so I always have, a piece of Kleenex or paper towel next to it to control it. And rather than drag out a whole bunch of stamp pads, what I like to use is I just like to use the markers. So I'm going to start off by doing the actual bunny, and so I'm going to do the bunny in the crumb cake color to start with. So I could either pick up from the stamp pad itself. I could pick up by, a lot of people what they do is they just press the stamp pad into the lid, and you end up with some color here that you could use. Or like I said earlier, you can actually use the pen itself. I can't currently find my crumb cake pen, so we'll just rely on this. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of color, and I'm going to start coloring my little bunny, and we'll start coloring him in. Now if you don't pick up any more color and you just use the water from the brush, you will lighten out the color. And so you see how it's getting lighter along the other side of his ear, and that way you can do actually some shading. So I don't want the middle of his face to be too dark, because I want his little face to show up, so I'm just constantly just using the water from the brush, and the color is kind of getting more diluted. But then I can always go in and pick up just a little bit more color for around the edges of the bunny. So that's all I'm going to show you for this. I'm going to stop the video and finish my little bunny, and then I'll come right back. Okay, I've just about finished my bunny. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what he's looking like here. He's almost done. There's a couple of other tips I want to tell you about watercoloring. If you're going to be watercoloring two different colors close to one another, then I would suggest you wait for one of them to dry, because watercolors do have a tendency to bleed into one another, so you might want to wait. And if it starts to bleed, then you can always dab it off with some paper, and that will take out the moisture. Another thing, if you wanted to add some shading, I waited until his little feet were dry, and then I went back in and did a little bit more shading in there. And I'm just going to finish up. So here I am using the Stampin' Write markers with my water brush, and I'm just going to finish off these two little Easter eggs here. And also, if you find the color's not going on dark enough, then what you can do is you can actually add the marker direct to the paper. See, this is a very, very light. This is Wisteria Wonder, and it's a very, very light color. So I might just dab in a bit of the color in there, just to make it a little bit darker. And when you're using watercolor paper, you can go over it quite a number of times without it affecting the paper at all. Alright, so there's our little bunny, and he is finished. Alright, so I'm going to cut him out or rip him out because I really like ripping watercolor paper, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we've got our bunny all ripped out, and he's a pretty good size for what I'm planning to do with him. So the next thing is to assemble the card. So here I have an A2 size card, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cut in half and then folded. So that's what we're going to start with. And what I'm going to do is, I've got this Designer Series paper, and it's the Fancy Fan pattern. So I thought what might be fun is to actually use the Fancy Fan folder, which I happen to have, and dry emboss this top layer, and so that it's matching. So I'm going to go grab my Fancy Fan folder, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So here's my Fancy Fan. So I'm going to put this in to... Now I want to orient it the same way. So if that's going like that, I want these to go this way. So we'll put it in like this. Alright. And then I'll pull in my Big Shot so that you can see how this works if you're not familiar with it. So here's my Big Shot machine. So I have this open onto tab 1 with one acrylic plate. Then I put the folder in, and then I put another acrylic plate on top, and then I'm going to crank it through my machine. And there we go. Just put this over here at the side of my table. All this stuff moving around, and so here we go. Here's my piece. Alright, so we're going to place this at the bottom of the card, and we're going to place this at the top. So I'm going to use my tape runner here for this piece. And I've cut it just a bit smaller than the actual card because I like to show a bit of a edge to it, and then it looks like you framed it. And they're going to place this one on top like that. Now, when I stick any piece of cardstock that I've embossed, I find tape runner doesn't work as well. So I do like to use this Tombow multi-adhesive. And you just want to run a thin bead because you don't want to press it on the cardstock and then have it gush out. I have definitely had that happen to me. So we're going to put this on next. I'm going to get that lined up as best I can. Remember, it's a handmade card, so if you end up being a little bit crooked at times, I wouldn't worry about it. It is difficult to take off the paper once you've got it on there. So there we go. All right, next step is we're going to, I have this new punch that I absolutely love. It's in this Occasions catalog. It's called the Scalloped Tag Topper Punch. And what it does is it creates a little tag. So I've already pre-cut out my paper. The width of this is just shy of 2 inches. So you can make it any length, and there are so many projects that you can do. It's not just for using as a tag. And we're going to place that on here like this. But before I do that, let's put a little bit of ribbon in here. I'm going to use this crumb cake ribbon because my little bunny is crumb cake. And I don't want it to be too long on my card. So let's cut that like that. And because that's just a little bit bent, I'm going to cut that piece off as well. Even it out. And then what I'm going to do, rather than tying a bow or a knot, I'm going to separate the pieces like that, and I'm going to use a stapler. I've got this little tiny stapler, which is really kind of fun. And I'm just going to put that on there and line it up as best I can, and then give it a little staple. And I don't care if it's straight, because as I said earlier, okay, well that actually did not work. So I'm going to fix that and I'll be right back. There we go, I fixed it. I found out that my stapler was running out of staples and it wasn't stapling properly. So I've given it some food and it's good to go. Alright, so we're going to have this little tag on here with the ribbon, and I'm going to back this up with a little bit of cardstock, and I think I want to use this little piece of, I thought I had a smaller piece here. I'm going to lay that on top, but I need to make that a little bit smaller. So let me just pull out my paper trimmer. I'm going to make this just a tad smaller. Okay. And I don't care that it goes over the bottom. I think that kind of gives it a unique look. And then the bunny's going to go on top. And I might put the bunny on a couple of dimensionals. So let's get my dimensionals out and put these on the bunny. Like that. Okay, and we're going to stick this piece on like that. Okay, and then we're going to do the tag. So again, because it's going to go over this embossed piece, I'm going to put some of this glue on here. And we'll glue it on like that. I'm going to pull it down a bit because of the ribbons, but you can always trim the ribbons up again. Okay, and then let's put our little bunny on and see how the card looks. I think it's going to be really cute. Little happy bunny for Easter. You know what? Yeah, you know, I could sponge the edges of that. So I'm just going to grab my sponges. Now I'm always curious about how people store their sponges, and I saw this idea which I really like. You can get these little boxes. I have another box here with little dividers in them, and then I use these little, I don't know if you can see that, I use these tiny, let's get my lamp out of the way, I use these tiny labels. I'll show you what they look like. They're in my drawer here. These little post-it note labels. I use these and write the color of the ink and then put them in here. See, like that. It's really, really handy, and then you just find the color that you want. So I'm looking for crumb cake, and I thought I saw it in here. There it is. So crumb cake. And then there's not very much ink on there, so I'll have to take out my pad and ink it up. Okay, and then where'd my bunny disappear? This always happens to me. Where is my little bunny? Great, I've lost him. You know, I saw another stamper and stuff just, she says, always goes, here he is. Always go, no, that's not him, that was my test little bunny. Where's my new little bunny? Go on. Great, can't find him. Alright, I'll have to stop the video and find him, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm not kidding you, you guys. That bunny completely disappeared. He has hopped away somewhere. How embarrassing for my very first video. So I've pulled out the test little bunny and kind of ripped him up. I just can't believe, I don't know where he went. But anyway, let's get back to our project. I'm just going to sponge the edges of this watercolor paper and give it sort of a an antiqued look. Let's do this other side. There we go. All right. Yeah, he had dimensionals on him, didn't he? I don't know. I don't know where he went. Honest to goodness. I searched my trash bin. So embarrassing. Well, I hope you guys find it funny. I think it's funny. He's a funny bunny, is what he is. All right, so let's stick him on. I think he'll go on maybe straight like that. There you go. So there you go. There's my very first video tutorial with my very first card. I hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching.